How's your day?
Hey, let's talk about it.
So, King, you're in Vancouver right now. So, well, firstly, welcome to Quarantales. Maybe tell us, why are you in Vancouver quarantining right now? By the way, your view looks really nice.
Oh yeah, no, it's well, it's hmm, nice is subjective. You actually look into other people's apartments, but
Mm,
strangely enough, it doesn't bother me. I love my apartment here in Vancouver. I'm here to film
mhm.
for the CW's reboot of the 70s series Kung Fu.
Cannot
So
wait to see that.
well, fingers crossed. I haven't seen a thing. I hope it will be great.
I'm sure.
So already filmed. I'm in the middle of the fifth episode. We've got 13 episodes in total for
Mhm,
season one,
mhm.
which should take us all the way until April the 26th. So we broke for the year-end hiatus. I think that's pretty normal when it comes to American television series. So I went back to LA for a little bit, and Canada has got a mandatory 14-day self-isolation quarantine rule. Leaving the country and coming back, I knew that I had to quarantine. If I didn't want to quarantine, I could have stayed here in Vancouver
Mm,
or in Canada. But I wanted to see my loved ones in
mm,
LA. There wasn't enough time for me to go back to Singapore, and I
mm.
grieved over that for 3 days. And I got myself around.
I-
I went to LA, which is only 2.5 hours away.
Oh, perfect.
Also spent some time in Santa Fe with my brother. So made
Mm,
good use of the 14 days.
mm.
Came back here, and I'm on day. Let me
Good.
have a
Yeah.
look.
What day are you at right now?
I am on day 7.
Day 7. Okay. So,
Yes, day
what are you?
7 because they count the day that you arrive as day 1. So it's different from
Uh,
Singapore.
yes, because Singapore. I was surprised when I arrived and it was day 0. So it's actually 15 days, 14 nights, right? Um,
Correct.
so yours is 14 days, so you're halfway through.
I guess I'm halfway through because I arrived on December the 5th. No,
No,
sorry,
no, January 5th. Yeah.
January the
I
5th.
was like, that's a
Yes,
long quarantine.
right.
You've done it a few times now because it sounds like you've did it 2, 3 times at this point.
My goodness, I feel like a quarantine expert. So I've done different types of quarantines. So
Okay.
the first time that I went back to Singapore, it was very similar to the type of quarantine that is happening here in Vancouver. And I
Mm,
think it's actually very good for people to know the different styles of quarantine and
mm,
the different expectations and rules and regulations with
mm,
regard to quarantines all over the world. Because I think that as the world starts to open up,
mm,
it is a whole lump of information which is going to start becoming very useful
mm,
when people start to negotiate their lives again. So the
mm,
first time I quarantined, it was actually when we all had production shut down for Kung Fu. We were already here shooting the pilot, and I went back to Singapore. At that time, we didn't have mandatory quarantine, and it was kind
mm.
of like a quarantine that was in your own home because all this was in like early March
Oh,
of
wow.
last
Yeah.
year. So I was just in my own house. I kept socially distanced from Xi'an,
Mm,
who was allowed to stay in my own home, you
mm,
know. And then within days of me being back, the COVID cases started to increase so quickly that they put in that mandatory sort of like, hotel stay,
yeah.
and everything was rolling up very fast. So that was my first quarantine.
Mm,
And then Kung Fu was picked up in the middle of that quarantine, and I was back in Singapore for 4 months. So when I went back to LA, there was no mandatory quarantine, but there is a voluntary quarantine. I identified my bubble, which was just one person.
mm,
And I had my apartment at that time in Santa Monica. And I just basically did not see anybody, just didn't go out at all.
mm,
It was at that time when honestly, everything was bursting right in
Yeah.
Singapore. I
Yeah.
mean, all over the world,
Yeah.
all over the world. And it was very worrying, but I had to come back because of my contract, come to Vancouver and relocate here and start to continue shooting here.
Mm.
So that was that second quarantine where you go back to a place that doesn't have a mandatory quarantine. There
Yeah.
was, few masking laws at that time,
Yeah.
and we had just come from Singapore where everything was really at its height
Right.
of
Yeah.
like strict, sort
Mm.
of code safety rules. And when I was in Singapore, we were working as a group to,
Mm.
even come up with safe filming laws. Anyway, yeah,
Mm.
it was just like that. So
Wow.
then quarantine in LA. So
Yeah.
that was a different sort of quarantine where it's like it's all on you, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to make my own rules. I'm going to learn everything from Singapore. I'm not going to see anybody. I'm just going to order my groceries and I'm just staying indoors. And that's a real shout out for Singapore. I don't care how, people complain about how strict Singapore is, but oh my goodness, at times like this, you really appreciate it.
Mm.
Then I went to Vancouver, and Warner Media basically has a mandatory 14-day quarantine at the Sutton Hotel, and they pay for it. They put all of us up at a very popular sort of production hotel in the middle of downtown Vancouver, and it's called the Sutton. And Warner, they're very kind. So that was the third quarantine already that I've had.
Wow.
And some of the things that made it so easy to learn how to quarantine on your own is they send you a very nice starter sort of grocery pack. I want to talk about all this because I really do think that with all this sort of thought process, other countries, other film production companies
Mm.
can learn how to do things and start to open up so that all of us, you and me,
Mm.
we can continue to work, and
Mm.
we can continue to work in a way that we feel safe and
Mm.
that we feel like the production is taking care of us. They tell you in no uncertain terms, but kindly and in a very clear manner, look, we need you to just stick with all the rules and regulations because
Mm.
we want what you want, which is to be
Mm.
healthy, and we want you to go to work.
Mm.
We want to go to work. And I think that is such an important sort of long term
Mm.
thing to know. I was very lucky though, because I'm also doing the voicing for this Paramount full length animation called Tiger's Apprentice.
Mm.
And they have been recording people in the cast, Michelle Yeoh and Henry Golding and
Mm.
Brendan Su. And basically, everybody was in different countries, and I was, in Vancouver.
Mm.
And it was perfect because I was working while I was in quarantine.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was a wonderful way to spend time,
Mm.
and it also was a great way to start to again learn how to continue working as actors,
Mm.
but in a remote fashion. They tell me plug this here and plug this here, switch this on and move it to this. My
The
goodness,
instructions sound wonderful.
wonderful. Turn this dial to this
Oh,
level and
perfect.
turn this. Oh my God, it
Tell
was
me what to do
amazing.
and I will do it and I'll do my
That's
work.
right.
Yeah.
I just want to share this because I want to give everybody, all the actors, the hope that there are many companies that are doing their utmost to
Mm.
keep actors safe so
Mm.
that we can continue working, which
Mm.
is what we all want to do, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
they patch me in with all the producers, they patch me in with the director, Carlos, who was like wonderful.
Mm.
And then we start all the sessions. You feel like, yes, there is a way to continue
Mm.
doing what we love,
Mm.
as long as everybody is kind of like doing,
Mm.
their part.
Their mindset on how they're going in this sounds like everyone is on the same page, which I think is very important because so many people can have
It's so
different ways.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so important. And also, I think it gives respect to the artist because they not just think about the technicalities of doing something remotely or
Mm,
doing something in a COVID time.
mm,
Okay, so I'm not just talking about the voicing, for the animation, but even on set, the rules and regulations are put together. And I think this is important to share in a way that understands what an actor needs to continue to be a good actor in
mm.
these strange times,
Yeah,
where we're
yeah,
not allowed to sit close to each other in the green room.
yeah,
We're not allowed to touch our food. We cannot eat together.
yeah.
What I do want to share is it's not just about the rules, it's
Mm,
about the different industries and how do you make the rules help each
mm,
of the people in the industries still perform in the best way that they can. And
yeah.
I think that, that is something that I really appreciate.
Now that you have quarantined in what sounds like different cities and different parts of the world, uh, what is one thing that you notice as an actor, um, as a mother, as a woman that you carry with you throughout all the different quarantine spaces, you can say? What is one mantra or one kind of golden rule that you give yourself as you carry out your own space in this space and your own space internally as well?
I think that that's really easy to understand and a very good question.
Mm,
After this year, after having traveled within the year to do what I love most to do and what I consider is my purpose in life, which is my work and my
mm,
art, I would
mm,
say the one thing that I'd like to share, I wouldn't call it a mantra, but it is very clearly, I think, the big light bulb that has gone on in my head. And that is that no matter what type of quarantine, no matter what type of mandatory or voluntary self isolation policies there are in any country, and I dare say forevermore, ultimately the biggest power is in yourself, and that you have to control the quarantine or the self isolation or how you want to behave in this particular time of COVID
mm,
yourself. And that clarity comes hand in hand with the type of clarity that you have or that you should have, and that you should ask yourself, and that is, what do you want
mm,
out of your life?
mm,
And if you're very clear about what you want out of your life, chances are you will control your sort of self isolation, how you behave in this COVID era,
mm,
in order to continue to live your purpose. A lot of people have been talking about how this country has handled COVID, and this country has handled COVID, and this country has handled COVID. But I think more people should talk about how the individuals, no matter where they are,
mm.
should handle COVID.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that that is so true. Why you are doing it in the first place.
correct.
Remember, why are you creating this safe space for yourself for 14 days, which in turn translates to creating a safe space for your community, which in turn translates to creating a safe space for the country, and so on and so forth, right? King, I mean, you're one person who I know has been quarantining throughout because of your work. And so I think that's also another important thing to note, that you are willing to do it because of your purpose, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, Liz, not only am I willing to do it, I find myself really enjoying quarantine. It is one of those sort of things like a juice cleanse, where every now and then I think I might just do it.
Yeah.
I think it is because I find it very restorative. I find it very healing. 14 days is a time where I feel I can recalibrate in a way that normal life usually doesn't allow me to recalibrate.
Yeah.
It also gives me a sort of confidence
Mm.
when I actually go back and step back into set and back into a larger bubble, I feel so much more at ease knowing
Mm.
that I am healthy and knowing that everybody that is going to be, within the same set has
Mm.
also gone through the same thing and that they are healthy too. We've had very open conversations with the people that are very close to us
Yeah.
in terms of their own comfort level, and it has forced us all to become very clear about what our barriers are and
Mm.
to also negotiate with the people that are very close to us and respect that everybody has different barriers.
It's a good lesson during this time in communicating boundaries and communicating comfort level.
Correct.
You know, I think it's a very good
It's
lesson that,
important.
sorry?
It's important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's not I think it's also good practice in asking for what you want and what you need actually during this time, because you kind of realize, okay, let's not bullshit around anymore. Let's just focus on what's important, our health, our loved ones, our family, and of course our purpose, and how we going to get there together, in your pod. Uh,
correct.
I feel like we can go on for another hour. I do want to say thank you to technology in many ways for bringing us
Oh, yes.
together, you know.
Oh my goodness. Not just putting us together, but for occupying our time as
Yes,
well.
yes. Occupy time, giving us work, enabling us to
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
Be well. I can't wait to see your Vancouver apartment. I will quarantine before I come over if I don't have my vaccine yet.
Okay. And
Yeah.
how many more days you have?
Tomorrow. I leave tomorrow. Yeah.
Have a great time in Singapore.
Thank you.
And yeah, stay
Ah,
close and keep in touch. I'm
yes.
gonna be here for another 7 days. So anytime you want to call me again, please
Yes.
call me and occupy my time.
And happy birthday in advance. In
Oh,
advance.
thank you.
Not yet.
Yay!
Not yet. Yeah. Quarantine birthday. Okay, I'll talk to
Okay.
you soon. Thanks, King.
Bye.
Bye.